Turf War is dead. Let me tell you why. Turf War has now been a thing for almost 8 years, and we've been playing this for a very, very long time. But at first, it was a very basic concept and still is at its core. Your goal? To ink the most turf to win. Whatever team has the most ground inked wins. It was that simple, and it was an easy way for people to get to know the game, play with different weapons, and just kind of paint things around the stage. It was actually kind of fun back then. It just hasn't really been the same since then, you know? It kind of feels like it's dying out, and it's a thing of the past now, where most people are playing ranked modes and other type of modes in order to level up and get higher in the rankings, and this is just not doing it for a lot of people, and I hope to explain why and what I mean by this today. Once again, in Splatoon 1, it was perfectly fine. You know, everybody was just now learning the game, and it was a great way to jump in with a new weapon to get some practice, and then finally jump into a pro mode, which was super easy and still was a fun little quick mode for people to jump into and not have to worry about sweating against super hardcore players. Splatoon 2 is where we started to feel a little bit of a tug, where things just weren't as fun anymore, but thankfully, thanks to the Splatfest Twilight Zones that came out, it kept the stages alive and made Turf War still a lot of fun. But with Splatoon 3, I'm sorry, it just feels like it's the worst it's ever been. But of course, the big question, why is Turf War dying? The first reason I think this is just not fun anymore is because people are tired of painting the ground. It's just not that fun when you could be shooting people and doing other objectives. I've had friends that have barely even touched Splatoon, and they touched the game and said, okay, how do I go kill people? And I tell them the rules of this mode is to paint the ground. And they make fun of me saying, you're playing a game where you run around with your head looking at the ground the entire time. What's the point if you don't even need to aim forward? Yeah, it is kind of annoying because it requires everybody on your team to have the main focus of painting instead of running after people and killing people, which is another problem in and of itself. But it's just not as fun anymore. It feels like we're actually working on a home or improving a home by painting the walls and stuff instead of actually worried about an objective. I think Turf War also just gets taxing because it's the same like 10 stages that you keep painting over and over and over again, and especially if you're playing in that allotted time slot where you only have 2 maps in that 2-hour time period, you're probably going to be stuck in that same routine of how you're going to paint the map. Oh, I'm going to spawn, go to the left, go through this alley, and spawn in the middle, and it's just like the same thing every single game, and it gets tiring. Another thing is you don't really gain a whole lot playing Turf War. There's no like competitive Turf War or anything like that, and there's no real rewards for playing this mode over others. You don't get as much XP or coins or anything really. I mean, the only thing I could think of right now as a benefit of playing this mode is the fact that you can get freshness flags for your guns, which is stupid that it's tied to this mode and probably only tied to this mode because Nintendo knows that most people are going to play ranked in order to improve their own personal rank. There's really no reason to do this. There's no personal rank for Turf War, at least not right now, so I really don't know what's the point of people jumping into this mode other than trying new guns and just kind of casually playing around. There should be a lot more modes besides Turf War for casuals to play. Almost 70% of this game's stages come from past games, and we're even getting another one from Splatoon 1 being Flounder Heights, and we already have Maui Maui Resort and tons of other ones from Splatoon 2 as well. And the problem with this is that we feel like we've already painted these so many times, and it once again gets incredibly boring. Now, if the stages were unique and had unique paths and unique things to paint, I think it'd be really, really cool. I mean, take the Shifty Station Splatfest stages in Splatoon 2. They were all different every single Splatfest, and they gave you some really unique things to paint. I mean, sometimes you had to fill these dummies for them to explode on enemies, and you had to paint ink lines, and there was even ink tanks to help you paint the stage a lot more. And there was also some incredible alleyways and parts of the stage that was just super fun to ink the turf. And now it just seems like it's the same stages, it's the same stuff. Even in Splatfest, it's just not as exciting to ink anything. It just feels bland and boring compared to those stages that we got in Splatoon 2. Finally, it just seems like it's too random, and also it's just like people don't want to be there. It's like, why are you playing Turf War and no one's inking any turf? I mean, this problem is massive in Splatfest because we don't have any other options to play anything else besides Turf War. And I mean, seriously, I'll watch every single person in my team completely ignore the spawn and just rush the middle to try to kill everybody, and then we end up losing every single time. It's just pathetic. No one wants to ink anything anymore. It's like I'm the only one, so now I don't even try to do it. I just go for the spawn with them and try to get kills and then come back later. It's also a problem because it's just so random. Sometimes when we do ink our own base and we're going off and completely devastating the other team, it's quick to find out that yet we still lose at the end because all you need to do is dominate for like 10 seconds in order to take over at the very end of the game and win, and And that is why there is no pro turf war mode, or there's no, ranking mode for turf war or tournaments for turf war, because it's just too random and time dependent. I truly wish I would have saved the clip that happened to me. We were completely inking out the other team, like devastating them the entire game, and then they just stopped moving. They would just stand around and dance until the timer hit 30 seconds, and then they all spread out, started killing everybody, and immediately won the game just from that. I mean, that's the problem right there. You don't have to do anything for 90% of the game, and then you can start moving, and all you have to do is get a couple of kills at the end, and you win, because there's nobody on the field in order to ink anything from your team, and you just get wiped out. I do think there's a couple of ways to fix this problem. For one, the stages just need to be more dynamic, and yes, I'll say it again for the third time, where are the Twilight Zone stages from Splatoon 2? This is what made things so unique. Bring back more unique stages, and not just for Splatfest, but for crying out loud, make some of these maps unique instead of just the regular zigzag style stage that we get every single update. Give us something new, give us something unique. Look at Moray Towers and what they did by expanding the battlefield not horizontal but vertical up into the sky. Give us more stuff like that. Come up with some unique ideas. We are in the third game of the franchise 8 years later. We should be having some insane looking maps right now. There's no excuse. There needs to be more rewards and incentive to play this mode. I know that Splatfest is kind of a big one in order to get sea snails and stuff and help your team win, but that only happens like once every 2 months, it looks like right now. So we need something else in order to get our attention, and we need something when there is no Splatfest. Why should I jump into turf war right now? What am I going to get besides the freshness flag? I need something else. Maybe we just need a bigger turf war, maybe, with bigger maps and more players on each team. I would love to see like a 5v5, 6v6, 8v8, maybe even a 10v10 on these giant maps where we really have to work as a team painting this entire stage, and I think it would make it more dynamic because we can split up, make routes, make plans as to where to go because the map is so huge. That way it could feel more dynamic. We're not going the same areas every time because it's such a big map. Maybe this time I'll go down the alley, next time I'll go through the cave area and start painting that. That would be a lot of fun in a way to have kind of a large scale battle without necessarily diving into the battle royale scheme. More like a giant ground war if anything. And Splatfest, for crying out loud, give us something else to do besides playing on these very basic stages, and Tricolor is just not enough. They need to expand Turf War greatly. I think one problem is we can't play anything but Turf War, so that's what's making it even worse. At least let us play the ranked modes at night or something, because man, just Turf War is just so boring right now with these same stages. We need these freaking Twilight Zone maps back. Now what if we get to the point where we just need to replace this mode? I think that's definitely also a possibility. I think we just also need more modes. Right now we have like 4 ranked modes in just Turf War. Like, this game has been out so long now. It's on its 3rd installment. We should be having tons of playlists with tons of different modes and stuff to choose from. Right now this should not be our only options, and I think it's just hurting Turf War even more, and maybe the next game they might even want to take a break from Turf War, even though I know they're not going to do that. Like I said before, maybe we just need bigger battles with bigger stages as well. Completely re-scrap Turf War and build it from the ground up. Make it a giant mode now where it's not just 4v4, it's 8v8 or 10v10 on these giant maps. That would make it a lot more interesting, and have like 5 giant maps at launch. I think people would like that a lot more. Painting the ground will always still be necessary in order to advance towards the enemy team and everything, but should never be a requirement. We should not have to ink the turf in order to win a game mode. We should have other game modes where, yes, even like team deathmatch, where we have to kill the enemy inklings a lot. I know there's problems like enemy teams sharking and stuff and sitting in the ink, but it already happens. I mean, seriously, I'm already getting sharked on by roller players all the time in Turf War and even ranked mode, so does that even really matter at this point? I would love to see more game modes where we're actually trying to kill the other team instead of just painting something. But something has to change with Turf War within the next installment, because right now it's just feeling very bland to me. I know Turf War is part of the Inkling and Octoling history, with even the Great Turf War happening so long ago, and it's just such a big thing and one of the main reasons why Splatoon ever happened in the first place. So I know it probably will never go away. So the only option at this point is to change it. fix it up, add some players, fix the stages, give us a reason to play this mode, and just find a way to make it more accessible. Because right now, no one wants to ink the turf, no one wants to play this mode, and when we're forced to play it in things like the Splatfest, it gets really bad for people because big losses are going to happen because people are too busy going for kills instead of the ground. But I ask you guys now, what do you think? Do you think this is going to be a mode that stays around for a long time? Do you want it to stay around, or do you want it to have significant changes or even get replaced soon? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Splatoon 3 and Splatoon in general, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.